Have you ever wondered if the paranormal content that you consume through your screen can have an effect on you and your home? The short answer is yes, but there's a lot to unpack. So hang around as we discuss the who, what, where, when, and why this can happen. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. My name's Chastity, aka the Luminary Luna Beams.
And I'm Emily, the fine art medium.
And we're two mediums that specialize in the paranormal. Our purpose is to shed light on what goes bump in the night. That's why we call this podcast YouTube channel
Lights at Midnight.
Lamp.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay, guys. So today we have a very interesting subject to talk about. You guys have made a lot of comments, and also we've had a lot of questions about whether or not the paranormal content that you consume with your eyeballs on your screens can come through the screen like this, okay? And and affect your life. I know we're in kind of in a joking manner. It's not a joking manner, but I thought it was cute. I had to do it. Since it's spooky season and all. Says stay spooky too. That is the subject that we will be discussing today. So stay tuned for that. This video is a part of our educational series. So what we are doing is we are taking subjects from season 1 origins of this podcast and going through and discussing different types of hauntings, different types of psychic abilities, etc. Everything from season 1. You can find that in all of our videos down below or anywhere you get your podcasts. So like Apple, Spotify, you can get 60 hours worth of content. It's 30 episodes. Definitely go check it out. It's just not videoed. It's only audio. So just keep that in mind. One of the things too, before we get started, that I wanted to mention, and Emily, you definitely chime in here and tell us about your information, but we've had questions about whether or not if we offer psychic services. Yes, Emily and I both offer psychic services. And Emily's going to tell you how you can get in contact with her. And everything will be in the description box down below.
Yepper doodles. So if you go on to thefineartmedium.com, you can go into the services tab and pick whatever service you want and book whatever date's available. Easy as that. If you have any questions in regards to like how the service is conducted, you can DM me on Instagram or you can DM me on YouTube in the comment section. Either way, it is fine. And yeah, that's how I am doing my services.
Yes. And in the description box below, you can find my Linktree link. It has links to my email up at the top, the little message. You can always email me at the luminarylunabeams@gmail.com. You can email me on Instagram. And at the top of all of our socials, including me and Emily, we have a list of our services. We offer similar services to a degree, but we both offer different types of services. So that's the cool thing. So guys, if you're interested, just click down below in the description box and you can reach us. So with the business out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get into the topic of conversation here.
All right, y'all. So let's get into the meat of the episode. And we're going to start off by who can be affected by watching paranormal content. And so, honestly, in my opinion, and Chas, whenever you want to chime in, that's fine. It can be usually people that are energy sensitive and people that purposely try to tap in to kind of do their own investigations. Honestly, I feel like people that are just like your normal, stereotypical person just watching it for entertainment, they're not going to be much affected. But I mean, what do you think?
Yes. So I agree. Energy sensitive people, whether you know it or not, people that everybody reads energy. So whether you consider yourself a psychic or not, you can interpret energy. And that can be what's happening. So anybody technically can be affected by it. But generally energy sensitive people. So, in young children, it's all about really the energy that's around you already, too. It doesn't necessarily have to be through the screen, but energy in general is the biggest thing. We sense it, we feel it, it can heighten our senses, right? And the traumas that we already have. So if you have any of those things going on, you could be a person. So who could be you if that fits the category, if that makes sense.
I also kind of want to add, now that I remembered this, like if you're in a certain like vibration or fear state, you can also trigger that because you're matching the vibration of the entities that you're watching, and they can use that as an opportunity to invade your life and vicinity and freak you out.
Yeah, but yeah, so who can be affected? Ultimately, it can be anybody. We all experience energy again, and it can happen to anybody, believer or non-believer. Okay. We all shift and change. We're all riding the waves here. So the ebbs and flows of energy also it depends on how open and sensitive you are, especially empaths, I would assume.
I was gonna add too, like if you're doing illegal substances and mind altering substances that open you wide open and then you have no defenses. And so anything that might be around could also affect you, not
Yeah.
just the thing you're watching, but
Exactly. And next would be what are the signs of you being affected? So, generally, if you know you've been affected, you're kind of going to know. But just in case this has never happened to you, I want to say like a cautionary statement. Just because we say these things doesn't mean it's going to happen. Okay. Don't run with this. Just bear with us. Okay. I feel like that needs to be said. We're not trying to induce fear here. We're just trying to educate. So, what are the signs of you being affected? Well, you can have like mimicked panic attacks. So again, we're not doctors, we're not medical professionals, but spiritual attacks can mimic panic attacks, meaning like all the symptoms of that. I'm not going to go into that here because, again, we're not professionals, but sometimes it can trigger that. You can also feel sensations of like heat, cold, the chills. That's an effect from watching the stuff. But if something was to enter your space, okay, you can also have nightmares. Nightmares as a side effect, or general feeling of being drained after watching the content. And there's some more things I could add, but I'm gonna let Emily chime in.
sleep paralysis, paranormal activity, like general stuff like the sounds like clicking or tapping or knocking, scratching, like etc. um I would say too, like the way the air feels, so not just temperature but thickness. Sometimes you can just feel the overall thickness of the air, and it feels like it's hard to breathe. It's like you're outside on a humid day, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else, because I mean, you nailed quite a bit, but it's different for each person, especially like if they are energy sensitive. It also will be based on their clair abilities because that is the easiest way for the entity or spirit to communicate with you. So if you're
Right.
somebody that's clair sentient, it's more likely going to affect your health. If you're somebody that's clairaudient, you might be more apt to hearing sounds, and if you're somebody that's clairvoyant, you might start seeing things more often in your space that other people might not. You might have really messed up visions or daydreams. And Chas, you already said nightmares. Um, what else?
So I can add this. It could, if there's something that is in your home in general, you can start having very negative thought patterns. So again, I've taught the principle of your own thoughts, intrusive thoughts, divine whispers. We all have a negative self-talk at sometimes. That's just part of being human. But if you notice you're having a dandy day and then you do not have any medical situations going on and you know there's something happening paranormal in your house and you've been able to prove that, or debunk things that, you know, could have been paranormal but ended up not being, and you start having negative thought patterns, that could mean that the content that you're consuming is starting to possibly creep in. Now, there's a psychological side of this, and then there is a spiritual side of this, just to be aware. So discernment is everything, and discerning the difference.
Mhm. You can also have more combated behaviors between you and the people you live with. So, like family members, boyfriends, girlfriends, parents, siblings. People might be more likely to fight each other, like verbally. I mean, maybe physically if it's that bad, but
Yeah.
you can have that. And your animals and plants, it can affect them negatively as well. I feel like you're gonna see more signs with the plants first than your animals, unless they're looking around and it looks like they're looking at nothing. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we're trying to go from like least affected to most effective. Okay. So what are the signs? Those are some of the signs. You know, it's just like kind of like signs of being haunted. Okay. And also, if you, Emily was talking about the clairs. So if you are asking in your mind, like, I don't know what clair I am, if you want to learn more about that subject, season 1, episode 22 through 26, you can learn about that on our podcast.
When can this happen? That is the question. I mean, I feel like when you're at a lower point in life, when your vibration is low, maybe you're going through a stressful or difficult time in any kind of situation like breakups, you're drinking the alcohol more often, um, and
Taking
maybe,
psychedelic drugs, even though they can be beneficial.
yeah, um, becoming under the influence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In general, in any way. And
Mhm.
truly it can happen at any time. You may not pick up any side effects from the beginning at all. You may get like an inclination that something's not right, you know, after you've done, you know, made sure it was nothing medical, if it's something physical, of course. And this can actually happen over time. So it really depends on the entity that you're dealing with, because, you know, we say ghosts and stuff, but it takes generally a lot for a real deal haunting to occur that you picked up from watching content. And I'm going to leave that there because we've got that later down on the list.
Oh, I was gonna say, if you start communicating with apps and things and devices, Ouija boards, any kind of type of divination, if you especially don't know what you're doing, um, when you start communication, it's like there were things there, but now you kind of push the thing closer to you.
Yep. So it can be triggered, like triggering things when you communicate with spirits. Things can lay dormant. So when can it happen? It can happen immediately, or it can happen over time in general. And again, you're going to hear some things that we say that obviously do correlate with a haunting. But again, it's the paranormal is unpredictable in a sense. But once you really start to understand how it works within a certain perspective and your own means, you really start to see that there are repeatable things, I guess you could say, that happen. Like it's not as unpredictable as you may think.
Mhm. Yeah, because you start getting smart and you start picking up patterns. And so things, even though it might not be human or it is human, it's like they generally have their own like habits that they stick to depending on the certain type of entity or spirit.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to move on. This should be super quick to, where does this happen? I chose the who, what, where, when, hows here. But where does it happen? Well, again, it can happen at any time, any place. Look, screens are known amongst a lot of cultures. Okay. And this might sound foreign to some people, and you may be just rolling laughing at us. Like, what are they talking about? But you have to understand there's multiple people from multiple different cultural backgrounds that believe screens can affect you. And they do, because they trigger emotions.
I was gonna say Amish people, they don't like their picture being taken.
That's one thing. There's certain people that wear like wraps on their head even while they're filming or doing things to protect any energy coming from people, because the energy is intention. Okay, so it can be from other people too. So we're talking about the paranormal, but we hadn't even touched on that. Where does it happen? It's going to happen while you're probably at the lowest point, probably when you're by yourself. Rarely does it happen around a lot of people. Paranormal activity, unless it's very strong, but it in general, like, it can happen anywhere. You don't have to be at home, you don't have to be, at work, you don't have to be, but it can happen on an individual basis, because the more numbers you have, the more, and where those people are energetically can determine how effective it is, because paranormal stuff doesn't always happen just for no reason. There's generally always a reason that it happens. So, anytime you're around a screen, or, since we're specifically talking about this, because we're really trying hard not to go deeper, because since we're just talking about one thing, that's why we end up having 2 and 3 hour long podcasts. But yeah, so just be aware it can happen anywhere that screens are available.
I was gonna
And
say too, like if you're psychologically isolated, so even if you're around a bunch of people, like you have family members, like parents, siblings, but you're psychologically isolated, that's what it wants. You don't necessarily have to be physically isolated as long as you're psychologically isolated.
yeah.
So, if you think you've been affected, what can you do? There's quite a few things you can do, really. And I mean, it doesn't matter which culture or religion you're a part of. Each culture and religion has their own way that they can protect yourself and combat this issue. And so I feel like, for example, you can do cleansings of your space. You can do cleansings on yourself, whether it's like a Reiki session, you use a crystal, um, the healing baths where you use like salts and herbs and things. Um, and then for your space, depending on the level, you you can do your Palo Santo and sage, you can do copal and frankincense, myrrh, like it all depends. um you can ground yourself outside and just focus on channeling negative energy into the ground.
Yeah, grounding yourself. And I'm sorry, I keep making crazy faces if any of them pop through, because I live in the South and somebody at 12:20 at night is practicing out on their range with a somewhat semi-automatic something. That's all I'm going to say, because YouTube doesn't like it. I apologize. That's why I'm like, ooh,
Oh,
okay.
well, your thing was going like this too. So you're making the faces.
Ooh, something's coming through the screen right now. It might be me if they get any closer to my house. Oh, Lord. All right. Yeah. So if you think you've been affected, and it's going to be different levels. So, as of anything, we're not trying just to cover the scariest of the scariest. We want to make sure you understand that something small, the best thing to do is literally focus on mind, body, spirit. Okay. You have enough discernment to understand your mind, body, spirit, you're fine. You're good. You just know whether, you're having bodily feelings, mental feelings, anything, all related to the paranormal, not necessarily medical. Okay. But that's the first thing. Get all that in check. And if everything checks out, then just simply clear your space. It doesn't have to be anything big. There are videos about properly saging. You always want to start from the back of your house and work your way out the front door. Never do it, different. I might even pop in. Me and Emily both have a saging video, but they're kind of far back on our personal channels. The Fine Art Medium and the Luminary Luna Beams. We might drop them down below too. Sage your house. Again, she's talked about the Reiki and stuff. The best thing you can do if you're affected and it continues to happen, or you feel like it's going to happen, is take a break. I love me some paranormal content. I watch paranormal content almost every day. I make paranormal content and I still need a break sometimes. And that's okay. So if you're having any of the issues, mainly is to stop watching the content. If you're having any paranormal issues while you deal with it, stop watching, stop participating in the paranormal activities and stuff, because that's going to help you cut off the energetic stuff. Sometimes psychologically too, not a doctor. I feel like I need to say that psychologically too, we can get it in our heads. Things are a little more serious than they seem. Um, Paranormal activity can be very small and just comes and goes. Me and Emily have that happen from time to time when we help our clients. We actually experience some of the things they're experiencing. And for me, a lot of times on a very minute level, it comes and goes, never to be seen again. And, some people may think that that is strange and odd. No, I think it's a psychic energetic impression. Paranormal energetic impressions that don't have sentience, or beings that don't have sentience, still falls in the realm of the paranormal. So be aware of that. Sometimes it's just residual energy. But if you're having issues, the biggest thing is, on top of whatever else Emily said about our clearing and our grounding and stuff, and making sure you're okay spiritually and you check out mentally and physically, put down the content. Okay. So, and just reintroduce it slowly. Like, if it's really affecting you, you have to, the risk outweighs. It's like writing a script at the doctor. If the, what is it? The benefit outweighs the risk, vice versa, then just don't do it. Not a doctor though. Had to make the doctor reference. So, and last but not least, the big question here: what's actually the likelihood of this happening to you? So, the likelihood of it is all, I guess you could say, depending on the person, but the likelihood of this happening, like on a grand scale, is very slim to none. The biggest thing is to set up your intentions. And if you really are concerned with, pulling in energy from these things, I have heard, shout out to the Black Cauldron. She suggested closing all your mirrors, all your screens with intention. You can bless it with holy water, holy oil. If you really feel like that's going to help you, definitely just make a statement. A statement is an intention, and there you can put your own spiritual practices or routine spin on that if you'd like. But ultimately, the likelihood of this happening for just an average person that really isn't picking up a lot of their energy impressions, I guess you could say, is very small. Okay. But if you are energy sensitive, Emily can probably finish that for me.
If you are energy sensitive, you're more likely to have a problem. But I do want to say this, okay? Because I rarely have problems and I'm very energy sensitive. And the only time I personally have had any issues is when I'm purposely tapping in and channeling information. But if I'm not doing that, I don't have a problem. And if I don't think about being worried over something happening and I'm not thinking about it, I don't have a problem that way either.
Right. And it can depend. Like some people, we get really involved in what we're watching sometimes. It takes all of our attention, and we're just funneling that like attention into the screen. It's like I can remote view. So if a place is haunted, I'm going to pick something up. Like if it's legit and I'm not like shut down completely, I might like go into a vision and like be there and experience that, sometimes unintentionally, but most of the time it's because I'm intentionally channeling. And we have had to learn over time, how to maintain that. And you can too. It is 100% possible. It's harder for some than others, depending. I have found, and it might just be me, but I have found people that are very empathic, which I think empathy and being empathic is a gateway into really using your extrasensory perceptions, which are the clairs. But people that are clairsentient have a much harder time closing off because they get it from their body. Like it's just the energy's coming in from all directions. Now, me and Emily and anybody else, we all have these clairsenses to a degree, whether we use them or not. So, but my main one is claircognizance first, and or clairvoyancy. They work almost hand in hand now. It wasn't always like that though. So it just depends on a lot of things, and learning how you perceive energy is the most important thing. But again, the likelihood of this happening just every single time you watch something not normal, and if it is, you got to ask yourself why. You got to get to the origin of why this is happening, because it may not be directly through your screen. You're honestly, I'll say this. If somebody puts out an intention, like when they're doing the summonings and the rituals, I prefer to turn that stuff down, honestly, because that is opening up. You're participating in that, even though you wasn't there within that time and space. So that would be one of the times that I would say probably not. But honestly, if you're having any issues, they can be figured out as long as they're minute, smaller, just happening occasionally. But if you're having a bigger problem, more than likely it's not coming through your screen. It's literally with you already.
And your screen is just making you more aware of it.
Yeah. And that's just one factor to a multitude of factors. So again, this video is just like an outline of the screen situation. We've had some comments and we thought it would be a good idea for this educational video if we talked about boogers coming through your screen. Okay. So we hope we made you laugh a little bit. And hopefully that explains some things for you guys.
Word to Big Bird.
All right. Well, guys, I guess we're going to hop off here and we shall be back next week. Wish me luck. I'm going to Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. And by the time you see this, I might even be on that way. So, yay. Hopefully, I make it back in one piece.
Yes.
All right, guys. Until next time, peace out.
Peace out.
Hello, everybody. No, since I feel like one of those people on the news, or they're like, hello.
It's like when Taylor Swift gets into her act.
Yeah, you got to do it when you feel like shit.
Stop.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I can feel my wig sliding back on my head, so I'm waiting for my forehead to get bigger.
Hey, if you have a haunted story you want to share, you can email us at lightsatmidnightpodcast@gmail.com. Get in touch with us there. We'd love to hear from you. We really appreciate y'all hanging around and checking it out. And yeah, thank you so much. We are super excited to bring you some super awesome content. We really appreciate you guys checking us out.
Thank you to all that took the time to listen to this week's episode. Your support means the world to us. And remember, all of us have the ability to shine brightly and shed positivity, even in the darkest of places. Stay safe, stay well, and light it up!